welcome to this month's Plate It Up Kentucky Proud recipe segment. Since it's September, I'm going back to our classic September produce, which is Kentucky apples. So today we will be making an Apple Cranberry Waldorf salad, which is kind of a mouthful, but this is a spin, of course, a healthier twist on our traditional Waldorf fruit salad recipes that generally have a lot of mayonnaise and other ingredients that are maybe not the healthiest for us. So I'll walk you through the ingredients we're using for this awesome salad today, and then we will get going. So as I mentioned, we have two different kinds of apples. We have Red Delicious and we have Granny Smith. Now those are what the recipe recommends, so those are the ones that I chose, but you can adjust what kind of apples you want based on your preferences. I do like that it has a red and a green apple, just for the visual appeal. So take that into consideration if you want, as you select your apple varieties. Okay, we also have red and green grapes. So we're starting our trend here of some colorful fruits and veggies. And then we also have celery. We have dried cranberries, chopped walnuts, which I actually chose to mix walnut and pecans just because I like the flavor of both, and that's what I had on hand, so whatever you choose to do. And then for our sauce or our dressing, whatever you want to call it that you put over the salad, we have vanilla yogurt, honey, and cinnamon. So we will definitely still get that sweet taste that we all like with our fruit salads. So before we go ahead and start mixing things together, I did want to show a little bit about how to properly cut up an apple. So I'll be using a chef's knife today just because it gives me more control and I feel like it is the safest, best way to cut up an apple. You can also use a paring knife, but for especially a larger apple, you might find that in that paring knife, the blade might not go all the way through. So I choose to use a larger knife. So our first step is going to be cut off one side. So if you've watched before, you might remember I always say that we want to find a flat surface to use. So then we can put that flat surface down on our cutting board. That makes a really stable way to cut our apple, and then we can just rotate it clockwise or however you want to rotate and get off those main pieces. And we haven't wasted a lot. We had a very safe way of cutting up our apple. And so now we are able to just line these up. And this recipe calls for a dice. So that means the little squares that you see here. So thankfully they're not too small. It's a pretty easy cut. So you can see we've already diced this apple here. We'll do one more. And it calls for 1 cup of each apple, of each type of apple. So if you choose to use only one type of apple, you might need a few more apples. And also depending on the size of your apple. So that standard 2.5 inch size apple that we would think of is probably more like this size. But I don't know about you, when I look at this, I think it looks like a small apple. But this is actually more true to the correct serving size, which is 1/2 cup. So if you're using these small apples, you might need 2 to get to that 1 cup measure. But if you have a very large apple, this might be a great way to use it if you don't want to make a whole meal out of just a large apple. So all of that to say, we have our apples diced and we are ready to mix and go. Before we go ahead and start to mix, just a couple other nutritional things about apples. Of course, we've all heard an apple a day keeps the doctor away, but they really do wonders for our health in the short term and the long term. So since they're full of fiber, they leave you feeling full and energized, and that regular size apple I was talking about has just 75 calories. And so that's a great healthy on-the-go snack. So if you accidentally buy too many apples for this recipe, don't worry, you have your snack supply for the rest of the week. So let's go ahead and start mixing. I'm going to add in, this is a very simple recipe. So if you have kids at home, definitely something that they can help you out with. Add in our Granny Smith apple. And then we'll go ahead and add in our red and green grapes. So the recipe also called for 1 cup each of the red and the green, And not only is it colorful, but it'll give you a little bit more variety in flavor. I know that the red tend to be a little more tart, or maybe a little sweeter, and the green a little bit more tart. So once again, this recipe is very flexible to your personal preferences, but personally I love the color variety that's provided by all of these different produce items. So to keep going on with our green, we also have 1 cup of diced celery. So I've cut this up small, kind of the same way that you would if you did a vegetable soup of sorts, and maybe that's something that you want to do with the rest of your celery. If it's starting to be a cool fall day, you might feel like using the rest of that to put into the start of a great vegetable soup. All right. Also a great way to practice cutting up different vegetables for your kids or maybe others in your house learning to cook. Okay, dried cranberries. We have 1.5 cups of our dried cranberries, and this will really be what provides the sweetness to our salad. When we put that in with the yogurt and the more liquidy parts, that'll help soften up those cranberries so that they're a little bit more texture friendly with the rest of our fruits as well. So our 1/2 cup of nuts, like I said, I've mixed walnuts and pecans, but you can do that to your personal preferences. Or if someone has a nut allergy in your home, or if you're taking this dish to a family gathering, you might choose to omit the nuts if you know that somebody has a nut allergy. All right, but they will add a nice fall flavor, if you will, if you use the nuts. So now that we have our produce items mixed together, let's go ahead and make our dressing. I've measured out 1 cup of vanilla yogurt, and this can be purchased in the little small individual yogurt cups if you don't plan on eating the rest for your breakfast throughout the week. But if you do enjoy yogurt as part of a meal for breakfast, you might choose to go ahead and buy that 32-ounce more of a tub of yogurt, and it tends to be a little bit more cost effective if you buy it in the larger size. Also, you can choose regular yogurt or Greek yogurt. If you choose the Greek yogurt, it will be a little bit thicker, so you might like that texture for your salad. But that also provides the benefit of additional protein. So if you are looking to add some protein into your fruit salad, maybe choose that vanilla Greek yogurt as a good choice. We also have 2 tablespoons of honey, and I actually learned something new about honey in the making of this recipe that I thought I would share with you. Honey is actually the only food that does not spoil. So you might think, well, I've seen honey that's all crystallized or all hard in the jar. Maybe I forgot in my pantry. There is a way that you can rescue that honey. It's not gone bad. It's just crystallized, or the sugars have just aligned into a new structure. So what you can do is actually get a small pot, put water in it and on low on your stove, and then just put that jar of honey with the lid off down in that warm water. And over time, maybe 5-10 minutes, it'll help loosen up that honey into where you can pour it again. So don't throw away your honey just because it's maybe a little tough to scrape out. And then finally, we'll add a 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Actually, I think I misspoke. It is 1/4 teaspoon. But if you know me, you know that I like cinnamon, so I might have chosen to add just a little bit extra because it's one of my favorite flavors and spices. So we're going to mix our dressing together before we add it into our fruit salad mixture, just so that we get the honey dispersed throughout and the cinnamon dispersed throughout so that we don't get big clumps of it all in the same spot of our fruit. So this is smelling great already. You can smell the vanilla from the yogurt. You can see the cinnamon and the honey. And now the easiest and most fun part, where we get to mix it all together. I'm going to pour our dressing mixture into our bowl. So this is a great fall recipe. I like it for a warm fall day. Since this is a cold salad, you might choose to add this into a lunch rotation if you're packing lunches or eating lunches at home. but it's also a great side to take for something like a picnic or anything like that, as long as you're making sure to keep it at the right temperature, since it does have that yogurt inside. So let's mix it all together and see what a colorful and delicious fruit salad we have. Another fun fact about apples, since we have a little extra time today, is that they actually originated in Rome and Egypt, and then were taken to Great Britain, and then came to America. So even though we think of apples as our classic American staple fruit, at least I do, they actually came from a different place, like so many of our things. But I'm certainly thankful that we have them as a major part of our diets here in America. All right, so that is as simple as it gets. We have our salad all mixed up, and it looks great. You can still see the different colors of the apples and the grapes, and also the cranberries and nuts. And I cannot wait to try this recipe. I like everything that's in it, so I can't imagine that it would be anything but excellent. So if you would like this recipe, you can find it in a variety of ways. You can email barry.hyatt@nctc.com. You can also visit nctc.com to find it directly. Yeah. Or you can find Plated Up Kentucky Proud in your internet search bar, or you can find us on Facebook for this recipe and many others. We have been sharing a lot lately with monthly recipe calendars, so check it out and see what kind of recipes we have. So go enjoy your September apples, and we'll see you next month on our recipe segment.